in July 23rd and 24th. We are inviting all of you to watch our second play, Wogbejeke, the tale of two men, the story of Ghana's independence struggle through the eyes of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and J.B. Dankwa. It's going to be a riveting play that you'd want to see. Thank you very much.
In his incantations and declamations, the linguist said that, or he implied as such, that a Bobriere knows it's a little. A great man lives by his reputation, the reputation he leaves behind. You might have found that as we record the history of our great nation, they start the service at the church with 10,000 times 10,000. If some of you will remember the tune. But if you are a poor man, they say, just as I am, without one plea. Professor Boahen was by far my senior at Mfantsipim, but he left a reputation. He was among those few who took the Cambridge School Certificate in 4 years instead of 5. And Professor Boahen was one of those outstanding ones. And whoever met him knew that he enjoyed talking, conversing, and listening a lot. That is why he found the culture of silence rather deafening. And he was like that. He always spoke his mind. And at a point, God moves in a mysterious way, and God will make you not touch him. Because when he delivered that great speech, he said, I know not what will happen to me from here, but I have the pleasure and the satisfaction of my courage and my reputation. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to a stage here where we must commemorate the memory of Professor Boahen. His children, his friends, international and national, have all come together to put aside some money to establish the foundation. From my own experience and from those of yours also, in establishing foundations, you realize it's a lonesome, lonely task. We don't want that to happen to Professor Boahen. It would be a pity. And I stand at this stage to invite you all to take a look at the foundation we are formally launching. When I was High Commissioner in London, we used to make a lot of appeals. And I realized that I was getting too too much associated with appeals to such an extent that when I mentioned an appeal for development of Ghana, people looked on the floor. They were telling me a story. And I asked one of them, why this approach? They said, opinion ye fellow. We are shy, and therefore we do not want to do anything that might be misconstrued as a disrespect. That is why we look on the ground, so that our shame is shared with Mother Earth. I'm very sad about it, but I'm hoping that today's launching of the Boahen Foundation will not be a lonesome task. We appreciate every penny that will come from you. We don't believe in widow's mite or the widow's tithe, because we are not exacting anything. But we believe that as human beings, we must be sure that we are proud to launch something in the name of a good man. He's dead and gone. And we all look very sad at the memory of him. Nananum, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have among us the shade of Professor Edu Boahen. He was a stalwart speaker. He pricked our conscience. And if he has shown his love for us, let us not forget him through this foundation. Coupled with that, we have a few artworks which have been generously given by some of our friends and relations. We shall support them. But my task will be complete if you will all join me and others to share in the goodwill of this foundation, the Boahen Foundation. He would tell me, oh, Jimmy, don't bother them. Of course I'm not bothering you, but I know that you share my sentiment in ensuring that we put something on the ground. I've been given a signal that Kafui, who is a good auctioneer, is here among us, a young man of noble sentiments, and he's here to help us auction what you saw downstairs, the artworks. And Kafui is the young man coming up.
Round of applause for the ambassador, please. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to be on this stage. And on behalf of the family and the trustees of the foundation, I'd like to, first of all, duly launch the Edu Boahen Foundation. Please put your hands together. Today is the 24th. Oh, okay. Nice. All right. I'm going to start first of all with a collection of books which every old boy of Infansipim must get a copy of. So we're looking at Infansipim and the Making of Ghana, as well as the Ghanaian Sphinx. So we are bundling them together, and there are only 5 of these special bundles available. So if you went to the school, and there are only 5 of you here, please put your hands up quickly. And they are going for, the first one is going, he hasn't even asked for the price. But the price, since we are on the theme of 24, is 2,400 CDs to pick up a collection of those books. The hands went down very quickly. But if the hands have gone up, yes, I need 5 MOBA people. Okay, he said he was just stretching his hands. So I need just 5. I have 5. Where are those collections? So these are the MOBA, the books. So we have do we have any offers? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It's for 2,400. We have 4 more to go, and then we'll get to the paintings. There's another one that's gone down. Please take their details. 2,400 times 5. And we're already up to 12,000 CDs. We have 1 more there. 3 down, 2 to go. What a receptive audience. Round of applause for those who are watching this and enjoying it. So we've got 3. How many more do we have to sell? 2 more. We have 2 more. There's one at the back, and we're left with one last one. Oh, MOBA 81, and he announced his presence. Why not? MOBA 81, this year you are 35 years old. Fantastic. All right. Okay, very important. Have we sold all the MOBA books? This is the last one. Last collection. Okay, thank you. That was quick. I've used how many minutes so far? 2 minutes? 2-3 minutes, so I have like 21 minutes more. Okay, now we're going to go into some artworks here, and we've had very, very generous donations of artworks that we would like to monetize, all for supporting the foundation. So we're going to start, first of all, with some paintings from Philip Kuma. Can we have the Nkrumah piece? It's 44 by 53 inches. And if you recognize any of your fabrics in this painting, please buy it. Okay, so Philip Kuma is a young Ghanaian artist. He studied art as an apprentice, and many of his images are influenced by Asante and Achim cultures. And the motifs in his artworks represent his traditional roots as well as his life experience in Ghana. He's an upcoming artist with a lot of potential. I want you to grab his work right now, as it is still affordable. Okay, so remember, we are doing this for a great cause. I'm going to start with a starting bid price of, well, since it's 10th anniversary, let's start with 10,000 CDs. My bid price is 10,000. Do I have an offer for 10,000 CDs, please? 10,000 for this to grace your wall, and you will know that you are contributing to the Boahen Foundation. Already I see about 6 or 7 of the cloths my mother used to buy. Yeah, it's beautiful. If you see this on your wall, if you think it graces your wall, I'd be happy to take an offer from you. 10,000 CDs. Or should I go higher? Can I get an offer for 10,000, please? In dollars, that's like 2,500. I hope the Bank of Ghana is not here, though. With me dollarizing things left and right. Do we have an offer for 10,000 CDs? Remember, you are supporting a 10,000 offer could give a PhD student an opportunity to study at the University of Ghana under the Boahen Foundation. See some hands up in the air? You can give us a check. An ambassador says he's a bit leery of the pledges, but if it's the pledges we receive today, why not? And your donations can be anonymous if you don't want the glare of the spotlight. We will gladly take your donations in secret. And do you have an offer, please? When the ambassador spoke about how, after making the offer, everybody's face went to the ground, I was the only one whose face remained up. You know why? Because I'm not buying, I'm extracting the money. So I can look confidently into the face of the MC. Do we have an offer for 10,000 CDs? Or should I bring another painting for you to have a look at? Let's bring another one. Let's bring another of Philip Kuma's paintings. He's done one which is entitled Professor Edu Boahen, and there's also one which he calls Dankwa. Yes, indeed. Same style with the African prints all over. Okay. Are we motivated? Okay, so this is Professor Edu Boahen. So you have pieces of fabric on the canvas. It's 44 by 49 inches. And imagine the look of your guests when they step into your hall and your foyer and they say this thing. It will mark you out as a man or woman of taste. I'm still looking for an initial 10,000 CDs. Remember, we are supporting the foundation, Edu Boahen Foundation. Can I get an offer? And I urge you, if you feel your nose tickling you, don't raise your hands, because I'll take that as a buy signal. The moment your hand goes up, I think it's a buy signal. So do we have an offer for 10,000 CDs? You're studying it. And there was quiet. I see some calculations going on. Good evening, sir. Offer? Or I give you another painting? Another painting? Shall I show you another painting, sirs? Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring another one. You want a discount? Oh, wow. Okay. How much of a discount do you want? I'm open to negotiation. Oh, you want a general discount? Okay. I think I must confer with my principals. Okay, there's one here of Dankwa. You can just put it up here. I can actually hold it. So this, I hope you can see this. Yeah. How much of a discount do you want? 5%? 10? Or I give you a package deal, all three for a good price. How about that? I'm open. All three? The gentleman who asked for a discount, I'm listening. How much of a discount do you want? You can buy all for 5,000. One for 5,000. I need to confer. Okay, which one do you want? You want the Edu Boahen one? If you can beat his offer, I'll sell it to you. Since he brought himself. If you can beat his offer, if you think you want it in your room for 6,000, let's have a game here. He's brought it down to 5,000. Going once, it's historical. If you offer 6,000, we can talk. 6,000? I have an offer of 6,000. Thank you very much. A lady at the back there. Thank you. So, boss, you have competition now. She wants 6,000. Do I hear 7,000? Or just up the stakes, go to 10 and grab the thing and go. I have a 6,000 offer that she's calculating. Either she's a historian or she's a mathematician. 7? Let it go for her for 6,000. 6,000 going once. Do we have an offer for 7,000 maybe? 6,000 going once. You really don't want the Edu Boahen. You brought it down to 5,000. And she added 1,000. You say I should let it go. Oh. Going twice? Should I sell it to her? Do I hear 7,000? Going twice for 6,000. Edu Boahen in your hall. My principal says, gone, 6,000. Come on, let's give it to her. All right, so Edu Boahen has gone. Bring Dankwa for me, please. Put Dankwa up there for me. Okay. All right, okay. So we have a Dankwa here. Dankwa, 44 by 53. Can I have an offer for Dankwa, please? a piece of dankwa in your house? Remember, before Boahen there was dankwa, so dankwa must not start at 5. Dankwa must start at 6 or 7. Offer for dankwa, please. I know there are art lovers here, people who appreciate the finer things of life. And remember, it's not just about art, it's about promoting a great cause, keeping the name of the professor alive, offering an opportunity for students to further their scholarship, supporting a library, putting out a literary awards every year. And Mr. Cameron Dodo is here, he knows a lot about literary things. And it's just a great cause. And today I put out the information, this day in Ghana history, on this day Professor Boahen passed away. And there was a lot of feedback from surprisingly very young people, people who probably may not have known him. And they were wondering why Ghanaians were not celebrating this man as much as they should have. So you contribute to this foundation, you are celebrating a man who lived a fruitful life and contributed a lot to Ghana. And I still have my painting here. After my spiel, I still have to sell paintings. So, can I have an offer, please? Maybe this time I'll give it to you at your initial offer. Or you wanted to do Boahen? How about dankwa? Pass. Okay, can I have an offer for dankwa, please? Is it the rain, Ambassador? Is it the rain that has made everybody cool? You said everything stops in Ghana when it rains. Yeah. He's enjoying his seat there. I'm the one who's sweating, you see, so I have to extract money from you. Okay. All right. Can I have an offer for dankwa? 6,000. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. And Accra. Thank you, Accra. 6,000. Maybe I shouldn't go beyond the 6,000, eh? I should stay there and respect the senior Accra. But let me be naughty small. If there's an offer more than 6,000, I'll take it. I'm still making money. Can I get a 7,000? Otherwise, I give it to the senior Accra. 6,000 going once. 6,000 going twice. Commercial break, or we give it to you. Gone. 6,000. Put your hands together, please. All right. So that's gone. Dankwa has gone. Thank you very much. Okay. 6,000 at the back. The one who bought the Boahen, she's at the back. Please, lady who bought the Boahen, please identify yourself. She wants to come and see you. Okay, so this is, this is beautiful. So let me describe this one for you a little bit, So this is a painting by Victor Butler, I believe. Yes, so it's 48 by 40. It's titled Portrait of History. The figure here is a big one. But we're talking about a big man here. I don't know whether I should ask for an offer in the scheme of things. Is allowed to consult. Let me consult with my principal, please. So, I've done my consultation. Can I get an offer, please, for the Victor Butler Portrait of History? So this is a person who trained himself as an artist. He was born in 1964 in Accra. He taught at the Ghana International School from 1988 to 1990 and 1993 to 1999. And he says, my works are the final result of the processing of life around me, an interpretation and narration of Ghanaian life and issues which affect and influence it. My works are in simple settings that depict the human condition. He won ECRAG Award for Artist of the Year in 1991. Also adjudged West Africa Magazine Artist of the Year in 2006. He's exhibited all over the world. We need 3 PhD scholarships to give away. Do you remember how much the cost of a scholarship is? I mentioned it in the beginning. 10,000. 10,000 times 3. So we need 3. You buy one painting, you are sending 3 PhD students off to go study for a year. That's how it's not just a piece of artwork, but it's supporting scholarship and academic advancement. I'm looking for my initial offer of 30,000 CDs, which is like $7,500, which isn't bad for supporting 3 students. Just imagine, 2,500 can take somebody to school for a first-year PhD. So my reserve price is 30,000 cedis. If I get that offer, I won't even do any bargaining. We just go straight. And I'll call it quits and bring on the next speaker. So can I have an offer, please? 30,000 cedis, $7,500. In pounds, that's like 5,000 pounds? Yeah. Okay. In Ghana, you have to be good with your multiplication. You're dealing with currency. And it changes up and down. So I want a 30,000 offer for the Victor Butler. Can I get an offer, please? Maybe from this side. The person says, In Ghana, when they say, you know that there's a problem coming. Eh? All right. Can I get an offer, please? Yes. Hello. Greetings. Yes, please. Straight. When you want something done, give it to a woman. 30,000 cedis. Thank you very much. Give me a round of applause. Victor Butler has gone. Thank you. Yes, it's gone. It's gone. Ask and you shall receive. Yeah. I was having a chat with my son a few days ago, and he was giving me a debriefing of what happened in school. And he said, one of my friends came to school, and he took his mother's 52 CDs, and the mother reported him to the teacher. I said, really, what happened? He said, mother reported him, and they made him stand in front of the class, and he was really shy and really embarrassed. And then my son stops for a while and says, but why didn't he ask for the money? They say when you ask, you shall receive. Why didn't he ask? And then I said, and I just looked at him. He goes and comes back and says, but Daddy, why didn't he ask? They say, ask and you shall receive. Ask and you shall receive. For 30 minutes, he kept asking himself this question. Why didn't the guy ask for the money? I asked for 30,000. I got 30,000 CDs. Thank you very much, madam. Another round of applause for her, please. Okay, so this is the last painting. Okay, this is the big one. And this is the very last one before we continue with our addresses. So this is by Professor Ablade Glover. It's entitled Market Profile. And if you look closely, you can actually see that it's a very busy market scene. So Professor Glover is one of Ghana's leading artists. He studied at the KNUST, the Central School of Art and Design in London, Newcastle University, and he earned a PhD in 1974 from the Ohio University. He spent 30 years as head of department and dean of the College of Art at KNUST. And he focuses on female portraits, he focuses on crowds, market scenes, and houses. He's received so many awards, and he's exhibited all over the world. He's actually the owner of that fine Artists Alliance Gallery at La, which houses the largest collection of Ghanaian arts and crafts for sale. This is our last piece that we are auctioning tonight. And I like a man who is consistent. So my principal says, look, if it worked once, it can work again. We are still looking for 3 PhD scholarships. And you know the figure. It's 30,000 CDs. No bend, no curve, no discussion. I get my 30. You can even actually form a cartel. I don't know how you're going to do the viewing of the painting if 3 of you decide to buy this painting. But I'll leave those fine details to you. So maybe 6 of you can come together and say, look, we are sponsoring. And don't look at it as buying a painting. Look at it as supporting students to, further their academic pursuits. So 6 of you could come together and say, hey, we're going to buy this. 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. And then maybe every 10 days you circulate the paper. You circulate the painting. So I need 30,000. I don't mind how it comes. It could be 30 of you putting together 1,000 CDs each. It works. Yeah, but I need 30,000 for this. Yes, of course. Yeah, so we want to sell this one. Come together, form cooperatives, artistic cooperatives, artists alliance. Yeah, and just rotate the paintings. 10 days here, 10 days there. You own a piece of it. It's the kind of timeshare principle that we have with vacation homes and things. You can use it for paintings as well, can't you? So I need a 30,000 offer here for this crowd scene. Yeah, I can see people. There's a lady there. It's really nice and artistic. Okay. Do I have an offer? A group offer? A single offer? Any offer? Help the auctioneer, if he doesn't sell, he doesn't get paid. So I'm now appealing to your softer side. I'm working here, I hear peals of laughter, but I'm working. Huh? Okay, so I just found out that this actually sells for £20,000 in London. So my 30,000 is a steep discount. 20,000 times 6, that's £120,000. People just shell out this money in the UK to get that, But giving you a nice discount here, 30,000 CDs, and you don't have to be one person who buys it. A lot of you can just get together and buy it. Can we have an offer, please? I think I'm left with about 6 minutes of my 24, and then we continue with the speeches and the addresses. Can I get an offer, please? And art is like land, right? The value appreciates over time. So this is like buying a plot at where? I don't know. But this is a plot you can see. Nobody's going to encroach, no land guards, nothing, It's in your house. The plot is in your house. And then you're also taking care of students. So it works out quite well. You can look at your plot every night, It's there, my Glover, you can touch it, No land guards business. So an offer, please. The man is saying the thing in so many different ways. But it's a good audience. Please give yourselves a round of applause. I like it. I like it. Okay, all right. Okay. I have another advisor here, but I'm sure he's consulted with the principal. He says I should drop the price. Say a 33% discount by a third, right? So we're going down to 20,000 at Bloody Glover. 20,000, I think that's a generous. Please give him a round of applause. Oh, we have an offer already. Oh, fantastic. Please put your hands together. I think this is the Accra corner. Thank you. Mobile, you have to do show. The Accras are buying all the paintings. We want to see your show. So that has gone. Glover has gone. Please take it away. Gentleman over there. He's also a chief, by the way. Nana Akwaba. And let's bring back the Nkrumah and call it quits. Okay, so that has gone. Last painting. Okay, here we go. Senior principal. Okay, all right. Okay, this is a strategic one. I'm getting an offer of, I hear 5,000. I hear 5,000 CDs here. Can we get an offer of 5,000 CDs? For the Philip Kuma, is that correct? It's a Philip Kuma. 5,000. If you identify your piece of cloth there, you can just take it away, It's really nice. I wish you were closer to see it. It's just different bits of fabric, and it's been done quite well. Can I get an offer of 5,000? And we end. I have 2 minutes left to cede my time to the next speaker. Okay, in the top, somebody is pointing from the recesses of the darkness. I see a hand. Hello, smile, then I can see your teeth. I can't see you. Okay, I can see her teeth. You want it? You want it? You want it? You do want it. Who wants it? You or the one you're pointing to? 5,000. 5,000 going once, going twice. They want me to leave, so they're clapping. It's gone. 5,000 CDs. Then Nkrumah is gone. Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience. Give yourselves another round of applause. I can now hand over the microphone to my MCs, I believe. Yes, sir. Okay, so this is a message from the chairman. It says I should tell you that it took an Accra to sell paintings for the Kwaboche boys. So that's the message. Thank you. Round of applause for all of us.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, surprisingly, we are doing well for time. But we have arrived at the keynote address to be given by Mr. Cameron Dodu. Mr. Cameron Dodu is a journalist. He has worked for various outlets, including print, radio, and television, locally and abroad. for the most part, freelancing. Journalists report news, but not infrequently in the past, Mr. Dodu himself was the news. During the Second Republic, he made bold as editor of the Daily Graphic to criticize Prime Minister Busia's policy of initiating dialogue with apartheid South Africa. When isolation was beginning to bite, South Africa welcomed such overtures, but the editor of the state-owned newspaper was not impressed and would not keep quiet. He was dismissed. It was the second time the editor of the Daily Graphic had been axed from his position. The first time, it was Bankole Timothy, who criticized rebranding of everything in sight to refer to Kwame Nkrumah. Again, in the Third Republic, Elizabeth Ohene, acting editor, could not be confirmed for the position because she seemed to have a mind of her own, among other things, disputing government's claim to be the appointing authority for editors of the state-owned newspapers. Media practitioners have since learned to be more circumspect, their word. The better for self-preservation, the better also for the handsomely packaged gifts for cooperation or demonstration of solidarity with government. Mr. Dodu and Professor Boahen had more in common than we imagine. He is another one born to Empire Day, May 24th, that is Cameroon. He and Professor Boahen are both Achim born. Writing a regular column for the Legon Observer, Boahen flirted with journalism, but remaining an amateur, not the consummate professional that Cameron still is. Both also had issues with Trevor Roper, whom we met before. He was racist as far as Mr. Dodu could see. Quote and unquote, a man who never did any serious research in Africa, but who felt confident enough out of sheer intellectual arrogance to write what he did about African history. Even at personal risk, both could also rise to the occasion to say what needed saying. But the comparison stops here. Professor Boahen's credits do not extend to novel writing. On the other hand, as early as 1967, Mr. Dodu had contributed the Gar Boys. Personally, I'm surprised that Mr. Cameron Dodu was born only as recently as 1937. My difficulty, envy perhaps, stems from the fact that Mr. Dodu seemed to have done adult things rather quite early. Imagine editing in the 60s The Drum, subsidiary of the South African-based International magazine, and he only in his 20s. He also kept adult company. One such was Conor Cruz O'Brien, who was our vice-chancellor. They drank beer together, while Mr. Dodu was not much older than O'Brien's students, as we are now discovering. We know, of course, that the child who learns to wash his hands is the one who gets invited to eat with adults. That must be Cameron's forte, also the source of my envy. To this day, I have never quite mastered the art of hand washing, which involves quite some ritual. We can also now appreciate that Cameron and O'Brien had freelance journalism between them. We are lucky to have Mr. Cameron Dodu, a man of the world, deliver the keynote address.
Good evening, fellow countrymen and women. One of the advantages of striding across history is that one gets to know a lot of things. Our chairman tonight is known to you as a paramount chief, but to me, he is a general. a general I discovered from Jones Oforiatta, with whom he worked tirelessly under the leadership of J.H. Mensah to go to London and try to persuade our external creditors to give us favorite terms to repay our debts in 1970. The general's work was so good that my copy of the paper they took to London was stolen. I believe it was stolen by agents of Mr. Jeffrey Bain, another general. He had been Attorney General of Ghana, and he was now against the Progress Party government, so he wanted to do propaganda against it, and he sent his agents to come and steal my copy. Now, history is extremely important, but it is not as dead as we think. So what I have chosen to talk about is this: does history matter? I don't mean history as on paper, but history through human beings. And Boahen was a human being like us. He also wrote things on paper, but he is one of the few people, he was, who could combine the two. Instead of looking at history as something on paper, discussing it, imparting it to students, he realized that history must inspire the living through the works of the dead that he has studied to act today in a contemporaneous manner to influence society for the better. You don't get that very often. The intellectuals withdraw and they do their work on paper, but to actually say, I am going to take a stand because this is what history teaches me I should do, is very rare. I think that one of the persons who inspired Boahen most was Yasantua, the Queen Mother of Edriso. In 1900, the British had conquered Asante. They were taking King Prempeh away to the Seychelles Islands. It looked as if Asante was finished. Then a British governor, Sir Frederick Hodgson, went to Kumasi. The people said, all right, you've taken our chief, so we shall respect you. We shall not disrespect your queen. Whatever you want, we shall listen. And they held a deba for him. Do you know what this Englishman did? He got up and asked, but you people, you have made this deba. Okay, very impressive. But where is the golden stool? Why am I not, as the representative of the Queen of England, who has conquered you, sitting on the golden stool right now? Hey, ready? You should give a Okonfo-Addo golden stool for white man to sit on. The Asante King's chiefs began to disperse gradually, and Hodgson and his people went back to the fort in Kumasi. You know what Yasantua did? She formed a subversion society. Subversion through the withdrawal of sexual favors from the men of Ashanti. Said, no. Hey, you're no more now. You allow a white man to come and insult you like this? We shall not sleep with you unless you do something. Hey, something, what is it? So they besieged the fort at Kumasi. Do you know what the British did? While the Ashantis were beating their war drums, they put Rule Britannia, a record of Rule Britannia on their phonograph to try to frighten the Ashantis away with that. When the Ashantis heard Rule Britannia, they would go back. It didn't work. They had to bring in troops from Lagos before they could conquer Yasantua's army. She herself was caught and taken to Seychelles to join Prempeh. Now, Boahen looked at this and said, a woman led the Asante army when the men were not forthcoming to do the task. This is a spirit of defiance. This is a spirit that will not brook nonsense. I don't brook nonsense. And anybody who knew him would know that. So if a champion wants to foist union government on my people, I will work against it. And he and the flag bearer of the NPP today, Nana Addo Dankwa, Akufo-Addo, and others, too numerous to mention, began to use instruments like the Movement for Freedom and Justice to try and undermine the union government idea, and eventually a champion was so frustrated that the idea couldn't come on. Now, they had tasted victory. And Boahen didn't forget this. Of course, as a historian, he couldn't forget it. So later on, when Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings came back to power in December 1981, and he began to terrorize the people of Ghana, judges were murdered in cold blood, and their bodies burnt. People vanished, and up to today, some of them have not been found. People got frightened, as Honorable, very eloquent Ebo Daniel pointed out. There was a curfew, and people couldn't talk. Everything was haywire. So the silence, the culture of silence began, until Rawlings himself realized that what was going on was not good enough, and he opened his mouth and said, there is a culture of silence that has broken out in the country. I don't like it. You should talk. As if you could impose freedom to the mouths of people who don't want to talk. So, when Addo was asked to go and give the Dankwa Memorial Lectures in 1988, he used that as the theme, and he tore into military rule proper. You don't want people to discuss. You go to your room and you come back and you put an order on the radio saying, this and that must be done with immediate effect. Nobody should discuss it. And then you say that there is a culture of silence in the country. Does that make sense to you? And he laid down the rules. He said, if you want people to talk properly and think, if you want development, free the people. Let them say their minds. You can say yours too. And then we shall have a coalition of minds, and our country will move forward again. People thought that, as was pointed out, he wouldn't go home from that hall once he said things like this. In fact, he was challenged by General Arnold Kwenu, who was one of the people who attended the lectures, and everybody was frightened for Boahen, but not himself. And in fact, Rawlings went back, thought about what Boahen had been saying, and began to make moves through Justice Annan and others, to think of constitutional rule. It didn't happen overnight. It took up to 1990 before the Constitution was adopted and the process began, which today enables us to get together whenever we want, say what we want, even if, as Kwesi Prempeh has pointed out, what we say loudly on the radio, on television, and in the newspapers is not earth-shattering in the sense that not much of it makes sense. I make no apologies for my fellow journalists who have given Kwesi Prempeh the chance to come here and tear them to pieces like this. What he said is true. Of course, the society is also partly to blame. Who are the people who own newspapers in Ghana today? Who are the people who run radio stations? What was their motive in setting up those establishments? Did they, Kwesi, tell you that they wanted good discussion to influence public policy? The man wants advertisements to go and give to his girlfriends. And you want him to come and invite you to come and bring your book long into his pages. You see, what do they want? If you want advertisements, you don't employ people who want analysis, deep analysis, who will antagonize the companies that can pay you. You don't want that. So you have to be sure that you put pliable people who know that, after all, the media is also business. 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 And that is the trouble. If you want journalists, you look at what they have written. First of all, you don't just say the guy is a PhD or an MA or whatever. What have you written? Then you look at it, and if it impresses you, you may say, all right, we shall give him a test, or we shall try him out, and if he proves worthy of the position, we shall let him be an editor or a sub-editor or whatever it is. But you don't just start picking people up. He's my brother-in-law's sister. I have an eye on his cousin. So you bring him there. What is he going to tell the people? He can't even conceive. Look, when I hear what they call the newspaper review on radio and television in this country, what they consider to be news, what we call newsworthy in the business, is what somebody else has put on the front page, not an independent assessment of what has been published and the impact it is going to make on the society. Now, when you have people like that masquerading as journalists, I'm afraid you will just have a cacophony of noises, and eventually it will split up into parties because governments have money, political parties that want to become governments also have money, and there will be an interplay with people trying to attract those who can put their message out for them. That is not journalism. Now, I said that I am a walking history of Ghana. Boahen told me when I was appointed by the Daily to become editor of the Daily Graphic that I should not accept the job. I haven't told anybody this before. Today is History Day, so he's come here. He said, Cameron, look, you are a person with sympathies towards the Progress Party. Why are you going to become editor of a national daily when the Progress Party is in power? And I said, precisely because of that. When I criticize the Progress Party, they will know that I have no antagonism towards them. And therefore, they will allow me to give my opinion as I find it. And of course, I will give them a chance to also bring out their opinion. I went to interview Richard Kwashi once, and I was going into his office. Whom did I see? His deputy, Mr. Apia Menka. And Apia Menka, out of his own volition, without prompting, told me, "Hey, Cameron, Sir Progress Party, 1 year members ni beguno." Why? Because a Progress Party woman who was importing flour was making noise about the Trade Ministry's policy of liberalizing, flour to make its importation competitive. Apia Menga had seen that this was a good policy, but he had also seen that personal interests could defeat good policies. So I told Prof that, listen, I am going to give an example to the journalists of Ghana that indeed they can be independent no matter who employs them. And I said, look, Drum magazine that I edited for 4 or 5 years belonged to a white South African. But before I took the job, I sat down with him and I said, listen, I do not believe that a white man is superior to a black man. And that would be the policy I follow. If you don't like it, don't let me come. And he said, come. I published stories about the Congo, mercenaries, and so on. I looked for Prof and Ivor Wilkes, who were beginning to tell us about what relationships existed on our soil between the forest belt and the northern Sahara area. I got to know about how Arabic writers and historians lived in Kumasi, and not only listened to what their scientists said about themselves and their history, but also described things as they saw happening in Kumasi. These were not things that any racist South African would allow in his newspaper, but I was allowed to write it because, in fact, the proprietor was not a racist. So I said, on that basis, I think that an honest journalist who seeks to be well informed and who wants to impart true facts to his audience can do it. And I did it for a while. I was at the Graphic for only 10 months. But in those 10 months, those who were in this country will remember. Somebody comes from England and buys trawlers Ghana has imported from Russia. And because it came from Russia, the Progress Party government doesn't want them, and they sell them at rock bottom prices to an English man who is going to sell them to Brazil. Brazil for if Brazil can use the trawlers to catch fish to feed their people, why can't Ghana also use the trawlers to feed its people? We made so much noise that the trawlers had sailed on their way to Brazil, and they were brought back. And then things began to work, and they were sold again. Because governments always have their own agenda, and they don't like to be seen to be climbing down, even when they've made mistakes, because when they climb down, people think they haven't got firm government. And that is more important than principle in many ways. So, Boahen, having heard or having read about Yasantua's bravery, having heard about people like Samori Toure and the war they fought against the French and so on, he asked himself, what am I doing? Yasantua died in the Seychelles. Prof was so mischievous. He didn't call himself Contopiat for nothing. Sure. He once told me that Yasantua was so brave that when she was in the Seychelles and she had a toothache, they wanted to give her anesthetics to pull the tooth out, and she said no, they should pull it out raw like that. And they pulled it out raw, and she died. And then, unprompted, he himself turned around and said, later on, oh, that story about Yasantua's toothache, I made it up. In which he used the term means that a rascal who is also likable. What to be that? A rascal who is also likable. So he was a Contopiat, and he understood Contopiats, and he inspired a lot of people. When I heard that he had passed, I sent messages to two of the most liberal newspapers in England, The Guardian and The Independent, offering to write about him. You know that both of them accepted? So I had the task of writing about one person for two newspapers and making sure that neither paper regarded my contribution to it as plagiarizing myself. But there was so much to write about the man that it worked. Two long articles, each of about 3,000 words, for New African magazine. The stuff was interesting, and they published it, and it was good. But that was the kind of man he was. He inspired people. And he gave an example to show that we all have a role to play in making our society better. Now, the bravery he brought from history into politics was not the only type of bravery he showed. He was also extremely courageous when it came to intellectual affairs. In January 1966, when he had only been a lecturer at Legon for 7 years, he was invited to give a talk to a joint meeting of the Royal African Society and the Royal Commonwealth Society in London. Now, these are the arbiters of knowledge about Africa and its relationship to the rest of the world in England. So when you are invited to go and talk there, you go with trepidation of some sort. So Boahen went there. The chair was Roland Oliver, the founder of the School of Oriental and African Studies, who had supervised Boahen's own PhD course. You know what Boahen said? I'm going to be controversial, but don't worry, controversies are good for cold climates. Because they bring a little bit of heat into people's lives. And they all laughed, ha, 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 you know how the British laugh. They thought the man is going to be funny. Nimunti. And Boahen got up and said, my country has been fed with so-called history written by people like W.F. Ward, J.D. Fage, W.W. Claridge. What did they do? They've only interested their readers in what the Dutch, the Danes, the Swedes, the Portuguese, the Spanish, anybody who came through the coast to Ashanti and traded and so on and so forth. But what were the Ashantis doing when the people came? You can't find it in Clary, you can't find it in Ward, you can't find it in any of these works. Why? And then, as Nana pointed out, because he was a mathematician, he actually tabulated the amount of space that these authorities on Gold Coast history gave to the people of the country as against those who came from abroad. And it made the case. You could see that these people were complete mountebanks. You are writing about the Gold Coast, and you give 12 pages to the people of the Gold Coast and 398 to the Danes and the Dutch and the Portuguese. What kind of history is that? You know, when you are giving these lectures, you think of your chairman. Roland Oliver was a collaborator with Fage, I think, in writing history. They had published a book before. And you are tearing him to pieces in front of his colleague, and collaborator. Boahen, what's the matter with you? See, he hadn't even finished. Again, using his mathematical brain, he said, Ward said, Ubriya Board did this in that and that date. It is not true. The true date is this. And he put it there. Osetutu didn't die in so. He died in this year. And this is a source. He literally went through them with a scythe and cleared the rubbish that they had fed people on for years. Now, academics are, quote, bitchy, unquote, people, said Yonana. So you would have thought that they would finish this young man who has only been a lecturer for 7 years and who dares to cut up people like Fage, who was professor at Legon, but he had not even got there. Claridge, upon whom everybody built. Ward. The short history of the Gold Coast by Ward was the basic history upon which we all were brought up. When I was in Standard 4, it was the book that history was read to me from. Everybody thought these people were wonderful. And Boahen said no. But they couldn't answer back because he was so meticulous in his research. He used Arabic sources. If he needed to go to Holland, he would go there, and so on. Oh, the man was wonderful. And what happened? He was put on the committee that UNESCO had set up to bring out an authoritative African history series, and given the task of editing the 7th volume, which dealt with colonialism and after. If he hadn't shown that bravery in front of Roland Oliver and his collaborators, he might not have been offered that position. So bravery works in some cases. And Boahen showed that to us with his life. I said that I think he had a particular affection for Yasantua. Now, this Yasantua story is extremely important for all of us. Why? When I was growing up, there were a lot of people from my village, Esiakwa, who had gone to the war in Burma and East Africa, fighting, ironically, for the British against the Germans. Now, on Thursday mornings, Thursday is a sacred day at Esiakwa, the women would gather together very early in the morning and do something called mumume. They carried pans with special plants in them and water and went around the streets spraying them with this concoction. And do you know that they sang songs? One of the songs they sang, and I do wish I still had my alto voice from school. That has gone. And these days, when I sing, even the frogs begin to run away. But the song was this. Kokro hinkoe, ya santua oba besi okuma premonwe, ya santua. I told you that courage pays. If I had said that my voice is croaky, so I wouldn't start, she wouldn't have given you the correct one. Now, the interesting thing, and this is big, I got to know this because, of course, I'm interested in history. These were Achim women singing about an Asante warrior queen. The Achims and the Asantes had fought many, many wars. Their history is full of bloodletting, and yet the Achim women were singing about Yasantua, which means that even in those days with no communications, her fame had spread and people who were potential enemies appreciated what she had done. How much more do I? So that's important. And as I said, he carried that forward into politics. In fact, he was detained at the time. Nana Akufo-Addo gave a very detailed history of how they fought against the Champon. And it was mentioned there that he suffered detention at the time. But look at the way that he actually came forward to contest a presidential election against Jerry Rawlings. I invite you to be his relative, his son, his daughter, his wife, his friend, his brother. And you hear that your professor, nice, quiet gentleman, lives in Europe and America half the time, is going to stand on a political platform and tell people to vote against Jerry Rawlings because he's not a good leader. But he did it. He didn't win. His party claimed that it was a stolen verdict and so on and so forth. But that didn't really matter for him. Why? Because the process had begun. And it is through. So the first election he lost, 1990, 1994. Then they changed the candidates. And did Kufuor not win in 2000? The first time a party in power had been defeated at elections in Ghana. Wasn't that historical? And then Kufuor's government also was defeated by the NDC in another election. So the process now has put into place the system whereby governments can change easily without any bloodshed. What better gift can you give your nation than that? They put me last. And if it was a circle, I would tell them that I have pounded the fufu and you have eaten the soup already. But I think it is enough to let you know that principles matter, courage matters, and expertise. If you read the paper that the General and Joseph Furiata and J.H. Mercer took to London, which Jeffrey Bing stole, you will have to ask yourself, did Ghanaians write this? It was beautiful, well argued. So well argued, in fact, that the British government briefed journalists who told me that they weren't going to consider Ghana's case because, quote, there is no communist threat in Ghana.